What's going on, guys? Jules Melly back here again with the Bionic Podcast, episode number 4. I'm bringing on today my stepmom, Louise. How's it going?
I'm doing great. Thank you. It's great to be here.
Awesome. So, Louise is my stepmom. For those of you that don't know, you came into my life, I would say like 10 to 11 years ago. It's been
Yeah.
it's been a very long time.
Yeah.
So, Louise is a huge part of Team Bionic, guys. So, she has inspired me in many different ways, just like my parents have. And I've had the gift of growing up with Louise. So, we're gonna go and explain a lot of cool things that she's done, what she's doing right now, and the whole gist of it. So, but the way we start off the Bionic podcast is with the mystery mugs, guys. Louise and I are going to do a quick toast. Cheers to the Bionic podcast. I love that. See? So
That's
now,
amazing.
now the viewers are going to be like, they're like what's in that cup, right? So, anyways, Louise, I want to start off with just simple thing that I pretty much have been asking everyone, which is just like, where you grew up, your educational background, what you enjoy doing, stuff like that. But I want to start with The Rock. So for those
Okay.
of you that don't know, Louise actually originates from Newfoundland. She lived there pretty much her whole life until she moved to Ontario to blend our families. That's why we're called Blended
Blended
2.0.
2.0.
That's like our little family name for those of you that don't know. Now you know. So yeah, I just want to start. What degree did you get in university?
Okay. Well, if let's just take a step back though before we
Okay.
go there, because I did grow up in Newfoundland. I'm from
Mm-hmm.
Newfoundland, and what's interesting about my childhood, both of my parents are not Newfoundlanders. So
Okay.
my mother's from Quebec City, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my father's British, coming from Durham, England.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very different growing up in a very small town in
Mm-hmm.
Newfoundland, with my parents being both non-Newfoundlanders. So
Mm-hmm.
that was a really cool experience for me because I really was engaged with so many different cultures,
Mm-hmm.
right? The French Canadians, the English, and then Newfoundlanders. And I must say, like, salt of the earth, the
Mm-hmm.
folks there. So,
Oh, for
yeah.
those of you that don't know, guys, Newfies like, and I've had friends that have parents that are from Newfoundland and stuff like that growing up, and like you always just, like, Canadians in general are just very nice people, but Newfoundlanders are just like a whole
They're
different level
special.
of nice. Yeah, no, honestly
Super
though,
special.
yeah,
Yeah.
even my cousin who works on the ships, he's experienced that lifestyle of the East Coast, and everybody down there is just like so nice. It's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah. Agreed.
So you come from
Yeah.
very, very nice, like,
Tight knit
family. Yeah,
family.
your father was
Yeah.
a news broadcaster.
That's right. CBC news reporter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you come from slight fame, right? That's
Yeah.
pretty.
TV.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool though, cause
Yeah.
like you were always like plugged in with what was going on, and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
that's very important. You always tell us to watch the news. You're always very educated on the news yourself,
Yeah.
so that came from your upbringing as well, right? So.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah, so then growing up in Newfoundland, you didn't have the typical kind of mindset that a lot of kids have now, where they want to like leave their hometown for school. So you stayed at Memorial, right?
I did. So, yeah, I grew up in a very small town called Marystown, and that is located on the Burin Peninsula, um, in Newfoundland. And then I guess it's about 3.5 hours away from St. John's, where
Mm-hmm.
Memorial University is. So
Yeah.
I went to Memorial
Yeah,
at the age
yeah,
of
well,
17.
exactly. But yeah, it was
Yeah.
3 hours away, but
Yeah.
that was
I
like the
managed to stay
closest
in the
school
same.
technically to you at
Yeah.
the time, right?
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
and what'd you study
Exactly.
there?
So I studied business administration at
Okay.
Memorial, and I studied nutrition and food science at the College of the North Atlantic. So I, when I first went to university, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. So back then, it was general studies for your
Mm-hmm.
first year, and I scoped out a lot of different courses from geology to
Yeah,
biochemistry,
yeah.
English, you name it.
So was the business the major, and then you minored in the nutrition science?
No, they're two
Y-
separate
Okay.
programs.
Did you
Yeah.
do one before the other?
Well, I started at Memorial with that first year of general studies, and then I went into nutrition and food science.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I moved into the business program. So
Cool.
For me, growing up, I baked a lot. I cooked a lot. I was always getting in trouble in the kitchen doing
Hmm.
things. So I
Just like
really
Nick.
enjoy. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And
Literally.
in fact, we have the same book, that professional cookbook.
That's cool.
We both had the same one. So anyway, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do, and then I really enjoyed nutrition. I was always very careful about, eating the right foods
Hmm.
and, nurturing my body with the best things that I could have my fingers on. And then, um, yeah, so I like the nutrition part. I love the food science piece as well, like understanding how to cook and bake and that sort of thing.
Hmm.
So that really was a passion for me. And then I really wanted to understand how I could market that and do well in business with it. So that
Hmm.
was the second path for me.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about your hobbies as well. You have sold professional paintings
Yeah.
for very good money.
Yeah.
Your paintings are incredible. We actually have Louise's paintings up in my house in general areas of the house because they're actual like beautiful paintings. You could never tell that someone living in the household made them. So you used to paint with us when you used to come to
Yeah.
Ontario when we were younger. So that was really cool. But another thing that you got my dad into, and then slowly as we got older, got us into was running. So
Yes.
you are a multiple marathon runner.
Yeah.
You used to run like an animal, like in the mountains of Newfoundland. Maybe you had a little bit of help with altitude training, you know? No, I'm just joking. But so yeah, so I remember when my dad and you had first met, like he randomly started like going on runs, and I was like, dude, you're always like a gym rat kind of guy, like just like working out in the gym. All of a sudden you're running. So that came from you later on. We all started
Yeah.
running and whatever. So I wanted to ask, like, did the nutrition like make it a lot easier for you to run marathons because you knew about carb
Yeah.
loading and all that kind of stuff? Like,
Yeah.
your schooling helped you with that?
Absolutely. So, and unknowingly, because when I was studying, I was not into running at all. That came
Mm-hmm.
later in life for me at 34 was
Mm-hmm.
when I first put a pair of sneakers on and started running. So, yeah, it was interesting. It's almost a little bit of serendipitousness there because I lean back into my education to support with that new activity that I
Mm-hmm.
took on, along with ice hockey as well, which is
Yeah,
kind of
yeah, you and you
different,
put
right?
yeah, and that was
Yeah.
another thing too. I totally forgot, guys. Like, I like to make like structure for the podcast, but then obviously there's a little bit of free flowing involved, right? So that's another thing. Like Louise, when she came here, like it was like my first time ever like playing with a girl all the time, a woman all the time. You know what I mean? Like it was like going to Shinny with my dad for like years and years and years, and then all of a sudden like Louise is joining us. Like it was actually really cool to have you out at Shinny and stuff like that. Like that was awesome. Which we have a couple funny stories
We
about.
do.
But so for the marathon running, we talked about this the other day. You ate like a lot of carbs,
Yeah.
right? You were doing a lot of carb loading, lots of pasta and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So what would you say is like a good key tip to making sure your nutrition is on point for running?
For sure. So, specifically to run a marathon, you need to increase your glycogen levels to an all-time high,
Mm-hmm.
right? As much as you can. So, for me, I'm a big carb loader anyway,
Mm-hmm.
so it was quite easy for me to get into eating lots of rice and pasta and that sort of thing. But really having balanced diet was very important
Mm-hmm.
for that endurance. So I think carb loading, which was a little bit scary at
It's
first. It
definitely
is.
yeah like because
Yeah.
I remember for my nutrition course we had to do a carb loading assignment where you eat as much as a marathon runner and we
Yeah.
weren't doing anything and I remember being so like because for per body weight right so
Yeah.
per kilograms that I actually had to eat like 800 grams of carbs and by like 500 grams 600 grams like my body started tapping out like I was sweating like
Yeah.
I was like I have to go to the gym to like use this energy right because it's
Yeah.
like and people think oh like eating a lot of like potatoes and pasta should be easy but like when it's at that extreme level like it's like really like to run that long is one thing but then to have to endure like the nutrition portion of it as well is like absolutely crazy right
Yeah. And I mean, leading up to the marathon, I was gaining weight, right? As I was carb
even though you're
loading.
running like 20
Yeah.
30
And I
k
was like,
right
oh my goodness, like I know I needed it.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I think I gained about 7 pounds carb loading, which was about 2 weeks
Jesus
of
Christ.
work.
Wow.
And then I lost that plus, I think lost about 10 pounds after the marathon.
Well,
So
yeah, lots of water,
water
weight,
and all
sodium.
of that,
Yeah, yeah.
that extra nutrition that I had.
All the
That's
carbs
sort
floating around the body, right? So,
yeah.
and one thing I wanted to highlight just to share with everybody, you placed
Third place,
third
yeah, in my
place
category.
in what
Yeah.
marathon was it?
That was in the Newfoundland Marathon and came in 3 hours and 53 minutes. So it's just shy of my time for Boston. So I still have to try again.
Yeah, well,
It's pretty close.
that's an amazing accomplishment in general. Your son Jonathan ran his
Yes.
first marathon last year, which I looked up to a lot because
So
he's
proud of
my
him.
brother. I consider you guys like family. So my brother ran his first marathon. That was absolutely amazing, and it's all inspired by Louise, which is really cool because all the little things that we find ourselves doing now in our daily lives as because of what Nick has brought to the table, what Louise has brought to the table, and then we all kind of share our passions and our hobbies and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's really cool. And yeah, like I said, I wanted to touch base on the marathon because like that's absolutely insane.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so yeah, so now what I wanted to talk to you about was meeting my dad. Where'd you guys meet?
We met at work back in 2009. It feels like yesterday.
That's why I said 11 years. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's crazy.
quite, oh, yeah, it's going to be 12 years
That's a long
this month,
time.
right? So
Yeah.
it's pretty incredible. We met on January the 13th, 2009. Nick was coming to do a project with Compass Group at the time at Eastern Health in St. John's, Newfoundland. And I actually was expecting someone completely different than your dad. So when I
Uh-huh.
went to pick him up at the airport, I actually couldn't find him because I was expecting somebody else. Anyway, we did meet there for the first time. We worked on that project for the full week. And then I believe your dad got snowed in. So he ended up staying much longer than anticipated. But yeah, no, that was the first
Yeah,
time
because
we
back
met.
in the day, we actually used to have snow in the winter.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of
before
snow in
before climate
Newfoundland.
change, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So yeah, so then
it's pretty neat.
basically you guys met through work,
Mm-hmm.
and then after long nights on the phone, hours talking, because I can remember that as a
Yeah.
kid, my dad would always be talking to Louise for a couple hours at night, and it was tough for them because they obviously wanted to be together, but one was in Ontario and Louise was in Newfoundland. So that's a very long distance relationship, guys. Like I went through long distance with Rachel being at school. I was in Niagara, she was at Hamilton, like an hour and a half away, 2 hours tops. Like so for us, it was like, oh, and she was at Queens for the 1 year, so it was like
Right.
4 hours. But could you imagine multiple provinces wide? You're, seeing someone that's in a completely different province, especially Newfoundland. It's not the most accessible place to get to Marystown. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh man,
right?
that
So
was
you
tough.
guys grinded through that and whatever. So I wanted to ask you
Yeah.
about the stressors of moving your entire life from a small town in Newfoundland, putting your entire house in pickup trucks. Cool little story. We actually all met in Halifax for a friend's wedding, and we all like all the siblings were together. Whatever. We had a cool little vacation, and we all drove back in a van with just us. And then, like the day after, or the day we got, I think it was like the day after we got there, Louise's entire house showed up, in trucks.
Oh, in that big transport truck. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
like
it was really cool. I mean,
ginormous. Oh my goodness.
like growing up as a kid, like parents are together, obviously. So yeah, I never nobody experienced anything like that, right? Like, so to move your kids and your house, like what was that like that entire process?
Well, you know what? I'll go back to a quote that your dad always says, which is the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams, which is Eleanor Roosevelt. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we really lived our lives like that, knowing how
Badly.
much we believed in each
Mm-hmm.
other and in being together. Really, the move wasn't as difficult
Because
as
you were
most would
excited,
think.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, you're
it
like, let's
was.
go to Ontario, right?
Yeah, and
That's
I knew
cool.
it was the right thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
In my heart and soul, I knew that
Because it's
it
not
was the right
easy,
thing to do.
right? It's not
Yeah.
easy to leave like your family, like and all
No.
that stuff, like the place that you grew up your entire life, like, and that's another reason why my sister Kat have we've had so much respect for you three, Johnny, Danielle, and yourself, because especially for the kids too, like just being in elementary school, like having your friends that you've known for like 10 plus years, whatever, having to like leave all your friends and go to a new school and stuff like that. Like I went to a new school, but I knew people there and whatever, so I don't know what it's like. So we were always very like open arms to Johnny and Danielle, to yourself. We were like, that's hard, like to go from one province to another. We never like, questioned anything. We were like, you guys, for you guys to come all the way here, it means a lot to us because, I think that we live in like a good province in Canada. I mean, like obviously with COVID and stuff like that, things are different now. But you also saw an opportunity in work, which I wanted to talk to
Mm-hmm.
you about. My next question is, explain the jump from competitors. Why did you make the change
Oh
from
boy.
Compass Group to Airmark?
Wow. So when I left Newfoundland, I transferred with Compass Group
Mm-hmm.
from my job in
One.
St. John's to
And
a job in
was
Mississauga.
it an equal position or was that a promotion?
Well, no, it wasn't. And in fact, n- you know, thinking about the struggle of leaving Newfoundland, it was very difficult for
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan, especially going into grade 10, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
that was hard on him for sure. And then for me, the transfer that I took was a lower level position for me. So I went from being a district manager basically to going into a retail operations manager role, which was about 3 levels below what I
Wow.
left Newfoundland for. So the reason why I was okay with that was because, first of all, I wanted to move, and my company was supporting that move, and also just said, hey, hang tight,
Mm-hmm.
things will work out. And when we have an opening, we'll be able to move you into that role as soon
Mm-hmm.
as it becomes
I
available.
would I would also
Yeah.
assume that like Ontario is slightly more concentrated and more like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, there's so
more
much
populated. Yeah,
opportunity.
exactly.
Yeah,
So
so
like
much.
and
I wasn't worried
which
about
I
it.
didn't know about. That's why I asked the question if it
Yeah.
was a promotion or if it was equal. You
No,
actually went down a
I
couple
did.
positions.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Wow.
at first it was a little tough because my knowledge base was so,
Like higher than that
vast.
role. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, for
exactly.
sure. Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
but you know what? Patience is a good thing and you have to believe in better. So,
Believe
um,
in better.
always believe in better.
That's
Always.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is why
So
this is why we're recording this, like believe in better. That's powerful. Okay,
it
continue,
is.
continue.
And so, you know what? Within time, I think within I started that job August, right? 2012? And I moved, no, sorry, 2011, I guess it was, and then moved into a marketing specialist role within 3 months.
Okay.
So they had an opening by November of that year. I had moved into the marketing specialist role, which was a corporate role. And then that, just really jump started my career here in Ontario. And then about 2 years later, I was promoted again within the company at Compass Group. And then Nick actually mentioned to me about a role within Aramark that was available.
So, for those of you that don't know, sorry, I do this thing where I like abruptly interrupt, but
That's
I'm not trying
okay.
to be rude. I'm trying to
You go
fill in the
ahead.
audience.
I'm going to
So,
have a sip.
so what happened was they were both working for Compass Group, and then very shortly within the same time frame, they both made the switch to Airmark. So it's like going from the Habs to the Leafs. Like it's a very
Yeah,
big switch
it's a
because,
good
well,
analogy.
especially like in let's say Canada, let's say like the central East Coast region, most of the fans are either Habs or Leafs, right? So it's like that with North America for these two really massive food corporations. Like you guys do, and I talked about this with Nick, so we don't need to say everything, but they do universities, colleges, hospitals, workplaces, cafeterias at corporation headquarters, this and that, whatever. You guys have things like Via Rail, Google headquarters, like the crazy. You guys have really cool accounts. Like it's awesome. So it's like going to that next team where they're like, wow, like Louise is super talented, Nick is super talented, and we just lost them to our competitor, right?
Hmm.
So, like, yeah, that was my question. Like,
Yeah.
why did you guys make the switch?
Well, and listen, Compass Group has been just amazing to me in my career. So I'm very grateful for everything I learned with them. The excitement around Aramark Canada especially was within the higher education segment.
Mm-hmm.
Their market share is big, and certainly we're very competitive in that space, and it's a very strong interest of mine. So that was intriguing. And then secondly, if you can imagine, sleeping with the enemy is a little bit difficult. So
Mm-hmm.
Nick being with Aramark and me with Compass Group
Mm-hmm.
meant that we had to be extremely private at
And
home with our
how
board.
many months was that?
It was 13 months.
Wow. Okay, I didn't think it was
Mm-hmm.
that long. I don't
Yeah.
remember it being that long, but now you guys have been with
Yeah.
Airmark for so long, my
It
timing
has
is not
been a
off.
long time now. Yeah, it's 9 years.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. So,
So it was, yeah, I mean, it was a very, very exciting time, but I will tell you, I was really scared about changing companies. I'd been with Compass Group for 20 years
that's
when I made that
crazy.
shift. So
Yeah, that's
big,
big.
big change.
That's a
Yeah.
big step to be
Mm-hmm.
taking at that point in your career. Like, and it takes a lot
Yeah.
of balls, like straight up. Like, not everyone, like when people usually get 20 years deep into a country, they're going 30, then they're
Yeah.
going 40 almost. You know what I mean? Like,
I know.
nobody's
Yes.
pulling the switch like at that point in their career. How old were you when you made the switch?
Oh my gosh. I guess I was 41 or two,
Okay.
somewhere in there.
That's yeah,
Yeah.
like that's very because there's a lot of like inspirational things you listen to. Steve Harvey has the jump concept, you know that where like you need
Yeah.
to take that leap of faith kind of
Yeah.
thing, right? So that's what I see when I see something like that is something that you kind of had like a gut feeling where you knew like this company, this position, like they're going in the right direction. Like I want to get on board. I want to help them, right? Like
Well, yeah, and the culture, like what I could see from Nick's experience was incredible. So,
you saw Nick enjoying it
yeah,
himself. You're like, oh, like
yeah.
that's really cool,
So I had
whatever.
a little snapshot and a little
And now you
inside scoop.
guys are 50 and 70K members to the Air Canada Club. I talked about this in the
Yeah, we
podcast with
travel a
Nick.
lot.
You guys are always traveling, you guys are
Yeah.
always eating very well, enjoying your lives. So, I can imagine working for Airmark is a great time.
Oh man, you know what? Definitely the best thing that I did in my career. You're right, leaving a job after 20 years where you know just about everything about that
About the
company.
company, yeah,
So
yeah.
you're now a subject matter expert in multiple categories with
Mm-hmm.
a company to
Mm-hmm.
leave to something brand
Plus, you
new.
know a lot like of
Holy,
behind the scenes stuff too, right?
yeah,
So that
it's a
leads
big
me
learning curve.
exactly. So that
Yeah.
leads me to my next question. My next question is, what do you think? So in sports and TSN on the TV, they call it the TSN turning point, right?
Mm.
So what would you say the turning point in your career was? And I talked to Nick about this, asked him the same question, where there was that one promotion that you were like, oh, okay, like now I think things are gonna start to like really, really, go upwards, right? Like, cause Nick said that it was like when it became corporate and whatever. But for you, I haven't verbalized this yet either. So Louise, your current role is the VP of marketing.
Yeah, I'm vice president of marketing operations. The TSN turning point for me would have been when I left Compass Group to join Aramark, and I joined as a marketing director for the higher education segment.
Mm-hmm.
That was the big turning point for me. I'd never ever looked at a role to move forward or up a corporate ladder. I've always really just enjoyed and want to enjoy what I do. That's what it's all about for
That's what I'm
me.
talking about.
It's
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
That's so key. And like
Yeah.
that and again, the reason why you're part of the Meet Team Bionic experience is because you've helped mold our entire family, just like any parent would help mold a family, right?
Thank you.
No, but okay, I know there's so many tears on the Bionic podcast. I need to
I
stop
know.
being so sentimental. Fuck. Right? So, you doing what you enjoy, it shows. When a parent comes home from work and they're like pissed off, they drop their bag, they're like, fuck this, whatever. But then having a parent like you where you come home and you open your laptop to do more work, it's like, but she just worked from 6, and you wake up at like 5:36. So you just worked from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. You came home, you ate dinner, and then you started working at 7:30 again, right? So that to me is what shines to show that you enjoy what
Yeah.
you do, because
It's
you're,
passion.
yeah, like, and
Yeah.
when you're working on something that you're passionate about, you're like, oh, like, I want to go back into that presentation and fix this and this before I go to bed, right? Because
Yeah.
you're so excited about it, you don't even want
Uh-huh.
to fucking wait until tomorrow, you know? And
You're
that's,
exactly right.
I can
Nick
tell.
laughs at me because he said you're the only person I know that can't wait to get up to go to work. So,
That's
no,
really
it's
cool.
true.
That's really cool.
I've got to give a shout out to my mother, who it's my biggest hero in the world. She always told us, Jules, always do your best. And if you're not going to do your best, don't do it at all. So that really resonated with me as a very young child to know that, yeah, if I'm going to touch something, I've got to make sure it's right and that I put my best foot forward always.
Mm-hmm.
And doing something for the sake of doing it doesn't work, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to do something because you want to, because, you know, it's in everything you
That's
do.
exactly what I was just
That's in
gonna go to, right?
everything.
Is like
Yeah,
you to do your best at something, you need to enjoy it,
you
right?
do.
Because if you don't enjoy it, then you can't give that 110% effort. You'll give like 70.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And that
that's not good
100,
enough.
100%. So
Yeah.
what kind of brought you to that level of success? You would say is your pure enjoyment of what you do.
Yeah, and that foundation for sure, my
Mm-hmm.
values, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I think my mother's words and advice throughout my life,
Mm-hmm.
and I call my mother every single
Every
day.
single day.
She still gives me
She
advice.
calls her mom every single day. I don't know anybody else that does that,
Yeah.
that keeps in touch with their parents like that. So much respect to you for that. That's really cool. Something that I wanted to touch on quickly as well is from a corporate standpoint, because you guys have this like very chill part of you and you also have the corporate side of you.
Yeah.
So this is something that we talk about in the house all the time, is like how Louise is this, bubbly personality, smiles all the time, and then, we don't see this at all, but when we'll come home, Nick will tell us a story, or we'll find out that Louise will just like tear someone a new one in a boardroom, or like, when she's kind of like in charge of the project or whatever, like she'll do anything it takes like for that to do the best and whatever. So when you're like, how would you say is the best to balance that like aggressive, like, no, this is the fucking right way to do it when you're in the office, like shutting someone out or firing them, or like, let's say knowing like this person is really dragging us down. We either get them off this project or they get fired. Like, how do you balance that part of yourself? Like 1 second you're a shark, 1 second you're like a teddy bear. Like how do you pull that out of you, kind of thing?
Oh, wow, that's a loaded question. I think the best way to answer that question is to say, I always come from a place of love. And that may sound a bit strange when you're firing somebody,
Hmm.
but if somebody's not doing a good job in their role
Hmm.
and they're not happy in their role, then in many ways you're helping that person be more successful by, showing them a new path to
Mm.
something
Oh,
else.
for sure.
A project, it's everybody's got to be rowing in the same direction. I am very blessed to have like an A+ team.
Team,
I
yeah,
am so
around you.
lucky. Every member on my team, just they're amazing, and they all strive for the best in
They're all on
themselves
board.
and their work.
They're
Yeah,
all on board
exactly.
with what your vision is too, right? Like that's
Exactly.
team effort
Exactly.
is key. So,
But as a leader, we need to help others see the vision
hmm,
and guide, and also be open to listening to what they have to say as well, because I don't have all the answers. I
hmm,
definitely do not. So,
no, no, for
I
sure.
need to lean into others and hear their points of view and learn from them as well.
Hmm.
And together we're better, right? We're always
Hmm.
better together. So, some people aren't always in the right place in the right time, and
Sometimes they get
yeah,
fired.
yeah, sometimes they get fired. And you know what? No, but listen, not that I've fired a lot of people, but I've fired a few people in my lifetime, and they've all come back to tell me that, hey, thanks. They have, because they've found
That's
a
actually
better
really
thing in
cool.
life,
That's
right?
really cool.
So when I
It's
say come
almost
from
like
a place of love, I mean
you
it.
could tell that they weren't in the right spot, because if
Yeah,
you are in the right spot in life, you will grow.
you
Like, you know what I
will.
mean? You'll
You will.
flourish. Like, you're doing the right thing. You really love it. You enjoy it. You're passionate about it, whatever. It shows.
Yeah.
And that's going back to my point earlier, like some things are blatant, like when I'm working out, when I'm doing the things that I love, it's obvious. I don't want to leave the gym. I'm in there for 5 hours, 4 hours, whatever.
Yeah,
You put in
exactly.
that overtime when you need to come home, when there's a presentation,
For
you
sure.
exceed expectations of your boss because you're so passionate, right? So No, it's really cool, and it's cool to know that there's that side of you because the kids don't see it at home, right? Like we're at home, Louise is being super nice to us, she's smiling, whatever. But then my dad just saw her like chew someone alive because she knew there was the right way to do something and they were trying to do otherwise or whatever I'm
Yeah.
just making up bullshit
Yeah,
scenarios,
no, it's
but
all good.
you get
It's
what
all
I'm
good.
saying, right? So
Yeah. I will also say one of the biggest things I've learned is as a leader, you have to put your ego in a locker somewhere and hide it, lock it up,
mm,
because it's not about you. It's not, it's about your team and it's about, if you're working for a company, it's about your company. It really truly isn't about you. It's about you doing your best for others and for your business.
and
So,
I was gonna say you have the best interest of the company in mind.
yeah,
So that you know what I mean? Like when
it's
you make a
important.
decision that is either crucial or whatever, it's always to better Aramark as a whole, which is also
Yeah.
very admirable. Like that you guys
Well,
are
thank you.
constantly trying to not just do better for yourselves, like do little things that'll make you progress or whatever. It's always about what's gonna make Aramark better,
Yeah.
which makes you guys great employees. Which leads me to my next question.
All right.
If you could give one piece of marketing slash business advice to young people getting into large corporations, what would it be?
Oh boy. Okay. So getting into a large corporation. Well,
Because
first of
you
all,
guys do work for a decently sized company, right? Like you don't work for a
yeah,
mom and pop. Like
yeah, it's a big
it's a big
corporation. It's global.
corporation. Yeah,
Yeah,
you guys have big head office, whatever. So
yeah.
what's like one thing that you would give advice? Because the reason why I'm saying that is because a decent amount of my viewers are people my age, and everybody that's my
Yeah.
age just came out of school. So that's why the
Well,
one piece of advice.
so I would say absolutely be yourself. Jules, you spoke about it earlier about being passionate about what you do. You know, when you're looking at whether it's working for Aramark or any other corporation, look at what their mission statement is, what their values are, see if it aligns with what you're all about, right? Understand who you are. Hopefully,
And you'll
everybody's thinking
understand
about that.
others.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a Bruce Lee quote, by the way. If you know yourself, you'll know others.
There you go.
That's really cool. That's a really
Yeah.
good piece of advice. It's more about like, do I even want to help this company kind of thing,
Yeah,
right?
you got
Because
to be
you're the
fitting
one
in
that
with their culture and
you
it
just
has to fit with you.
graduated. You have the tools. You're a young, driven person
Yeah.
coming out of university, right? Like you want to make sure, like, hey, if I make this company 15% on their top line increase or whatever,
Oh
like
gosh.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
is it like, can I do that? You know what I mean? Like if you hate the company,
Mhm.
you're not gonna want to do well for them. You're not gonna put in that extra time or whatever, right? So
You've got to be willing to work hard.
yeah,
You
that's
really do.
another good one. Yeah.
Yeah, like you know, and working hard doesn't have to hurt, right? It doesn't have to hurt. And you but you need that passion and drive.
Or else you won't do it.
Yeah, I think any successful leader will tell you that you've got to have that feeling of I want to do this, not I have to do it.
The drive,
Right?
yeah. It's
Yeah.
like an inner thing that like kind of just like comes out when you're doing something that you enjoy kind of thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Cool. Well, now that
Passion for
we've
success.
exactly. So now that we've talked about the corporate stuff, you've given some advice to the viewers on how to excel in a larger corporation, business marketing. I want to talk about like the personal side of things. So I want to ask the question of what was it like gaining two extra kids, and in brackets I have here, especially fucked up ones like Kat and I.
Oh, well, I wouldn't say fucked up ones like Cat and I, but gaining two extra kids. Well, you know what? It was absolutely a journey, right? From the beginning
Just to get here.
just to get here. But when we first met too, right? Like it was just so exciting to meet you both and your personalities and you're just so full of energy and I never really ever met two kids like you guys before ever, so it was a very new experience for me from day one. I learned a few Italian words, absolutely.
Yeah, some curse words.
I think you're both so brilliant, like you're so much alike
Oh
and
yeah.
then you're so different and you have such unique characteristics that yeah, you can't copy for sure. So, um, what was it like to have
Like once, let's say
You
once we all
rejoin your
settled
family.
in, yeah,
It was
like
incredible, very stressful at times, I won't lie,
because
because
four kids is like two kids is like fuck, I got my hands full, but then four is like
yeah.
holy shit.
Well, and I'll just say two words and I'll leave it at that. Beef stew.
Yeah, guys, honestly, we've gone through a lot of stuff,
Mother Mary.
and honestly, I would say like I can remember things of when my dad lived in the place that he was living at when my parents first separated and they met. Like I kicked a soccer ball at Louise's stomach in the elevator because it was an apartment building.
He didn't mean to.
Yeah, like
It
the
was an
doors
accident.
open and I just drilled the ball and I thought it would be funny and Louise took the worst of it. Then I was talking about shinny hockey earlier. There was another story where my dad was just like chucking passes at me from the point and I was practicing my one timer and Louise, like waddles in front of the net trying to grab some pucks like for herself and I
Wrong
just
place
like
at the wrong
tee up
time.
this bomb and I just like rip this and it's like a low stinger and it just hits her right in the or was it the side of the leg or the
Yeah,
shin?
my thigh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right in the thigh. She's all
Ow.
bruised up. She's like, "You fucker." No, no. So Louise, obviously you've been through some like fun times, some good
A
times,
lot
but
of
then
fun
also
times.
like I'm also a shit disturber. I do stupid things like kick soccer balls at people and do stuff like that. Which leads me to my second question. Well, actually no, this one is a bit off topic, but then we're gonna go to the embarrassing one after. I asked both my parents this. I'm gonna ask you this because I consider you my mom.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. So, what is your proudest moment of me since like we've met?
Man, oh man. Yeah. So there's so many. Like I have a lot of proud moments of you. From watching you play hockey and win so many medals. Super proud moments. Um, Winning the gold medal in the men's physique competition, like that's next level. Super proud. I know you can hear me screaming in the crowd
Yeah,
on
yeah,
the
yeah. No,
video.
yeah. Literally though,
It's
the
crazy.
everybody was kind of like cheering, but then like Louise's voice is like piercing like through the video, like you can clearly hear that it's her. So, you know,
Yeah, super proud moment. I'm gonna say this is not an exact moment in time, but it was your TSN turning point when I just watched you evolve from, a young teenage boy into a young man.
hmm
And just to watch you evolve, Jules, and think the way you do, and how passionate and strategic you are with your business, like all of those moments together are, yeah, I'm so proud of you. Like
thank you.
I am so proud of what you're doing, this podcast,
That means a lot.
everything.
No, it means a lot.
That's
Thank you.
amazing.
Cause like I was like, your typical like just hockey player, teenage kid, like, boozing, parties, this, that, whatever. And I think you're right. Like at a certain point, I knew it was time to grow up. I really think my girlfriend Rachel helped a lot with that.
She's amazing.
Yeah, her psych background has helped me develop a lot mentally. So I owe a lot of that to her. That's why I brought it up because she's really helped me mature and start to, think about things like, and she's definitely changed and not in a bad way and I didn't like resist the change but I know what you're talking about like in the past couple of years I've kind of like just matured and just like started thinking differently. I think for my future
Yeah,
I
you
take a lot of
shifted.
yeah I take a lot of like I would say I would call it like financial advice from you and Nick. You guys have helped me have financial literacy, which I think a lot of kids don't have. I've read books because of you too, like 1 Minute Manager, and what was the other one?
Yes.
Raving Fans,
Yep.
right? So you guys have also suggested all these things that have helped me mature as well. You know what I mean? So and this is again, guys, build going back to Meet Team Bionic. The reason why I'm having my family, my core here is because you guys have helped mold the person that sits here today. You know what I mean?
Oh,
That's
well,
that's the whole point of this. The whole point of
I
this.
feel very blessed to hear you say that because that's a compliment if we have anything to do with who
No,
you are
it's no,
today. That's
it's
awesome.
honestly, and that's why, um, to me, my parents are everything. Because I look up to all three of you. You know what I mean? It's not like just one. It's like I take things from you. I take things from Nick. I take things from Mary, and I just like, you know, I have such a good, I call it arsenal. You know, like I
Yeah.
have so many cool things in my arsenal because I've learned them from you guys, you know, and it's not, I'm not learning from like someone my age. Like you, it's like something that's really big and something that you have a lot of is wisdom, you know, and you don't have wisdom unless you've gone through things.
I agree.
So that's why I asked you about your upbringing, your life, your education, your corporate life, and all that stuff. Because through all of these things, you've learned so many cool life lessons. You have so many cool quotes. We just shared. What was the believe one? Was it?
Oh, believe in better. Always believe in better.
Always believe in better, guys. That's so cool. Honestly, like you can't even plan shit like that. And that's why I love the podcast because it's just a conversation that I hope is helping you guys. Now we're gonna go into a lighter topic, a funnier one. What would you say the most embarrassing moment or like one of the stupidest things you've ever recall me doing?
It's quite a few.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is the
So,
loaded question.
well, and I don't even know if this counts as one, but there's one that's coming to mind that, we were on our way to Windsor for a competition. And oh my goodness, the traffic was crazy. Jules was drinking quite a lot of
Oh,
water
I was
along the
water
way.
loading. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And
yeah,
I was taking water loss pills. That was the
yeah.
key. Yeah. Oh.
And so Jules is in the back seat. He's like, I have to go to the bathroom. We're like, well, there's not a bathroom in sight, and you can't get out here. We're on the highway. He's like, oh man, I've got to go. And yeah, so you did.
Nick and Louise in the front seat. Rachel didn't even help me cover up nothing. Everybody just pretty
I
much
closed
closed
my
their
eyes.
eyes. Yeah,
I
and
closed my eyes.
Rachel's like closed her eyes, like turtle shelled in the corner, like trying to be far as I think even Rachel even plugged her ear. She didn't want to hear me pee, but I think it was like a Gatorade bottle or something like that. And like your biggest fear when you're doing that is like, what if it fills up and you're not done? You
That would
know?
have been my biggest fear
Like
for sure.
stopping midstream is like one of the hardest things like ever. You know, harder than running a marathon. No, I'm just joking. You know what I mean though? So I was like so scared. I'm like in my dad's car. I'm like if I get a drop anywhere, I'm dead. Like so no, that was yeah. That was a do or die for me. I was like,
I
yeah.
don't know who it was more embarrassing for, actually. But anyway, that's one moment that I remember.
Yeah.
But
That's a
you did it.
that's a
You
very
did it.
I
You
know.
managed to do that.
That's a
It's
very
impressive.
that's a funny, very light moment, you know? Like for
Yeah.
example, the one with my mom was like me getting suspended. You know,
Oh dear,
that's
I
like a way
remember that
yeah,
day.
that's a
Oh,
way heavier topic, you know, versus like me like, you know, just doing something stupid, which is I'm glad you brought up a funny story like that because yeah, like I was either like because guys the traffic was stopped. So
I
I was
know.
like, Dad, I'm gonna get out and pee next to these cars. I don't care. And he's like, you can't do that. He's like, I don't know, I'm peeing in this bottle, whatever. So, anyways, no, that's a good one.
But it worked out. It
Yeah.
worked out. You know what? And nobody was hurt during that um, experiment.
Yeah, exactly. So, then the last thing I want to ask, which is a question I'm asking everybody, what would you say your favorite part about Team Bionic is?
Oh my gosh. The inspiration and the oh, it's not confidence. What's the word I'm looking for? So the inspiration and the hope, I think, that the hope that you give to people through everything you do, through whether it's a post on social media or through your podcast, but the work that Jules that you've done to support others to reach their goals, absolutely incredible. And that to me is, next level and very inspiring. So I really respect you for everything that you do and how much you care, how much you truly, truly care. It's not about Jules Melly. When you're helping people, it's about them and really shows through everything you do. And to me, that's what I love the most.
That's awesome. Again, can't plan this. Like, wow, that's so nice. Thank you so much, Louise. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Well, thank you
That
for
wraps
having
up
me.
the episode, guys. Episode number 4. Louise Hudson, VP of Marketing for Airmark Canada, the absolute GOAT. We also call her Young Wheezy in the family. All right. Thank you so
I also
much.
do a mean stomp.
She does a mean stomp, guys. Yeah, this was the other night, ripping the stomp, the Irish jig. Right? So, yeah, thank you again for coming on.
My pleasure.
Absolute great episode. I'm going to grab this mystery mug thing that we've been drinking, which is absolutely amazing. So smooth. I will be right back.
All right. Oh, I didn't realize that. You have to show it now. Oh, I'm catching on.
The best part is that I can just cut this out. I'm not rushed. Now that like I've been doing the podcast for a while.
You've got to figure it out.
Okay, now watch. Now we're just gonna act like nothing happened. So what we got in the mystery mugs, guys, is a little bit of Josh red wine. What is this exactly?
Cabernet.
It's a Cabernet. Louise is a wine connoisseur. Just to give you a little bit of a background, I was never heavy on the wine until I went to Italy last summer with everybody, and Louise was taking us, like we were going together, but you were showing us the differences between wines, like how to properly smell them, the hints of wine, like the grapes and this and that, and all those like little things. And
Flavor profiles.
I wouldn't consider myself like, guy that's gonna fly out to San Fran and go to like a winery, but at the same time, I can now differentiate between a poor quality wine, a good quality wine, especially reds. It's very blatant when it's good or not, right? So a glass of red wine with Wheezy. Let's do one more toast.
Cheers.
Cheers. It's an amazing podcast.
Amazing.
And I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. For our listeners on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, any listening platform, and for the viewers on YouTube, if you're still here, we love you. That's like the whole thing. If you're still sticking around after like a 40-50 minute podcast, it's the real love for these people. My supporters, couldn't do it without you guys. Thanks so much, Wheezy.
Oh, thank you.
Been a
Thank
pleasure.
you to everyone listening.
Yes. All right, guys. Take care. We will be back with episode number 5. Peace.